The island of Madagascar, known for being home to the world's most unique flora and fauna, playful lemurs, colorful chameleons, stunning orchids. It's here that 5 castaway species from the Central Park Zoo will try to make a home. Along the way, they'll make alliances, compete against dangerous foes, and try to overcome the elements of this beautiful but untamed land. 7 movies, 5 animals, 1 survivor. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that likes to move it. If by move you mean destroy, and it you mean the simple nostalgic memories that you once had of all the movies that you watched as a child. Now, maybe you think that makes me a bit of a buzzkill, but just can't help thinking about the implications of whimsical worlds created by animated movies. I suppose a quote-unquote normal person would watch a movie like The Rescuers and think, oh, that's cute, little adventure story starring 2 talking mice. But is it really my fault if I watch that same movie and think to myself, the bottle at the beginning of the movie is taken to a mouse version of the United Nations. Now, the real United Nations was formed after World War II, so does that mean that this mouse society also had itself a World War II? Does that mean that there was a first World War between mice, followed by an ill-conceived mouse League of Nations that collapsed in the face of rising mouse nationalism? Look, if you're gonna create a fantastical world, somebody is gonna have to ask the tough questions about how it works, and that somebody is inevitably gonna be me. And so for today's topic, we'll be looking at what I believe to be one of the more underrated animated franchises of the 21st century, Madagascar. Not only are these movies lighthearted and fun, they also feature some really impressive voice talent. No other franchise is really gonna give you Zoolander, Borat, Walter White, and Jack Donaghy all in the same place. They're fun, they're colorful, the writing is fine most of the time.
Grand Central Station. It's grand and it's central.
What, was that a joke? It seemed like it was setting up for a joke.
Did that just say Grand Central Station or my aunt's constipation?
Yeah, okay, so not all the jokes are gonna land here, but these movies are easy to watch and they distract my toddler long enough for me to go to the bathroom in peace, so what's not to love? But, and you know that when I start singing the praises of a movie franchise, there's gonna be some sort of but involved. I just can't help but wonder how well our beloved talking animal friends are actually gonna fare on the island of Madagascar. If you need a reminder, in the first movie, Alex the lion, Marty the zebra, Melman the giraffe, Gloria the hippo, and a whole host of other animals are being relocated from their home in the Central Park Zoo to a wildlife preserve over in Kenya. Due to the hijinks of the penguins on board, the animal crates fall off the side of a ship and wash ashore on the coast of, you're never gonna guess it, Madagascar. Whoo boy, didn't see that one coming. And then they learn a lot of valuable lessons about friendship, and there are some dance breaks, and we leave the door wide open for a subsequent series of sequels, all in under 90 minutes. 4 stars. It's no Wall-E, but it's definitely not Minions, so we're in the clear. Would watch again, which is good considering my son is gonna wanna watch it 300 more times before the next month. But of course, the crazy part of my brain can't help but ask the question, how are these animals really gonna fare on the island of Madagascar? None of their species actually live there in the wild, and these particular animals have grown up in a zoo, with regular meals being delivered to them and no threat of predators around. Unless, of course, you count that one old lady that they met in Grand Central Station. So today we're playing a high-stakes version of Survivor Madagascar, where the losers leave the island in a body bag. Who's gonna live? Who's gonna die? Who lives to tell your spin-off? Keep your giant lemur eyes peeled for all those pesky fossa, because today we're escaping to Africa. Because Madagascar is part of the continent of Africa. Just go with it. To start off with, let's go with our early favorite, Alex the lion. He's strong, he's fast, he dances for people at the zoo, and to be sure, there are certain things about Madagascar's landscape that Alex is gonna be finding pretty appealing. For one, the apex predator on Madagascar is, as we see in the movie, the fossa. So unlike in mainland Africa, where Alex would have to compete with leopards and cheetahs and hyenas for his kills, on Madagascar, his biggest competition weighs about 20 pounds, less than 1/10 of his regular size. Should be a pretty easy win for him to be king of the island, right? Well, you see, Alex is far from a normal lion. We learn from the beginning of the sequel, Madagascar Escape to Africa, that as a cub, Alex was much less interested in learning how to fight from his father than he is in dancing around, before he's eventually captured by poachers and ends up in the Central Park Zoo. While his life in that zoo certainly gives him opportunities to dance around, the fact that he's lived most of his life there is gonna create some problems when he's on his own out in the wild. According to Katie Moore from from the International Fund for Animal Welfare, quote, "In a lot of cases, it is still impossible to release captive animals into the wild, especially if the animals have been traumatized or were very young when captured. Since lions typically live with their mothers until they're about 2 or 3 years old, those early years are filled with lifelong lessons that Alex never got. Beyond the issues of avoiding dangerous situations and learning the social lessons of living in a lion pride, which itself is a moot point since there's no other wild lions in Madagascar, Alex's biggest problem is the one that we're gonna see in the movie: food. A major point of the first Madagascar movie is how Alex is so used to being fed steak by zookeepers that he doesn't really know what to do when the gang first arrives on the island, leading to an awkward desire to eat his best friend Marty the zebra.
He's going savage.
Where have I heard that phrase before?
I believe he and this jaguar, they went savage, sir.
Animals don't go savage.
Disney ripping off other companies' story concepts? No. But in real life, Alex probably would have had a hard time even hunting Marty. A group called ALERT, the African Lion and Environmental Research Trust, has developed a procedure for releasing previously captive lions out into the wild. And one of the most important steps is putting the lions in an enclosed space with prey to give them hunting practice, because without that, they're not naturally good at hunting for their own survival. ALERT also usually does this with cubs instead of the previously captured lions, because the ones who grew up in captivity are already considered to be largely a lost cause. In the movie, the food problem gets solved when other animals feed Alex some sushi, but again, as a mature lion, Alex would never be able to support himself fishing. And even more importantly, as a big cat, Alex definitely wouldn't be equipped to go into the water and hunt fish. I mean, you even see him avoiding the water when they first land on the island. So it is without judgment that I say that our friend Alex the lion is in trouble with no survival skills and no other lions to show him how to survive. Alex, the tribe has spoken, and it says that you're gonna starve to death on Madagascar. Now, yes, I recognize that that's a pretty dark way to start the episode, but that's the circle of life, friends. Ever watched Planet Earth? No horror movie I've ever seen has scarred me as badly as seeing a giant centipede catch a bat out of midair and eat it. The point is, nature is metal, y'all. It doesn't take any prisoners. And it's not all bad news. I mean, Marty the zebra doesn't have to learn how to hunt his prey, mainly because it's rooted in the ground and can't run away. He, as a zebra, eats plants, and that's not that hard to come by. And while the movie makes it seem like Marty might make for a nice fossa feast, it's actually unlikely that they try to eat him in real life, given that they almost always hunt alone, and Marty outweighs them by approximately 800 pounds. So Marty should be fine on Madagascar, right? Plenty of food, no predators? Well, one of the other major issues with animals raised in captivity is that they become habituated to humans and don't fear them after they get re-released into the wild. And you see, that's gonna be especially dangerous for Marty in Madagascar. For Marty, humans have represented safety and food for his whole life, but once he lands in Madagascar, it's very likely that any humans he encounters will be much more dangerous to him. You see, zebras are very frequently hunted in their native habitat, sometimes for meat, but much more often for their distinctive striped skin. And unfortunately, poaching is just a huge problem in Madagascar. Historically, the poachers there hunt for lemurs, so King Julian will probably want to move it if he sees any humans coming. But it's likely that a non-native zebra pelt would be a big win for the local poachers. Sorry, Marty, the tribe has spoken. Next up is Melman the giraffe. Again, Melman is probably too big to be prey for any of the animals that exist on the island. Also, Madagascar is home to many of the trees that giraffes like to eat from the most. There's even an initiative underway to plant 60 million new trees on Madagascar, many of which are acacia trees, which just so happens to be a giraffe's favorite food. Then again, we've also seen Melman eat a urinal cake, so being picky about food might not have been that much of a problem anyway.
That room has some nifty little sinks you can wash up in, and look! Free mints!
But here is the problem for Melman. We know from Madagascar Escape to Africa that Melman is a bit of a hypochondriac.
Okay, you guys really need a doctor.
And honestly, as a giraffe, he has every right to be. Giraffes are especially susceptible to parasites, skin conditions, and a whole variety of other diseases. Oddly, one disease that giraffes are known to get is tuberculosis, and tuberculosis is a huge problem in Madagascar. The International Association for Medical Assistance to Travelers specifically specifically warns that TB is highly endemic to Madagascar and a major health problem in the country. Now, TB isn't always fatal, but with Melman living on his own, he isn't going to be receiving a whole heck of a lot of treatment beyond sitting in his own die hole. And if the TB doesn't get Melman, there's a pretty decent chance that he'll get himself some trypanosomosis, a disease caused by protozoan parasites and known to infect both giraffes and a wide variety of species on Madagascar. Melman, the tribe has spoken, and it says, you should have worn a mask and gotten your shots. Okay, but what about the penguins, huh? If they can hijack the boat that was taking all the animals to Africa in the first place, then surely they should be able to manage surviving in Madagascar, right? Well, canonically speaking, the penguins are Adelie penguins, one of the few species of penguins that actually lives in Antarctica. Now, you might not believe this, but the climates of Antarctica and a subtropical island off the coast of Africa are gonna be just a wee bit different. In coastal regions like the one where our little feathered friends land, temperatures get up to around 32 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Adelie penguins have to remain constantly in cold temperatures, otherwise they faint like little Pokemon. Now, while I wasn't able to find exact data on what kind of temperatures cause Adelie penguins to faint permanently, it's reasonable to assume that their temperature tolerance is going to be similar to that of the emperor penguin, the only other species to live its entire life on Antarctica. Emperor penguins start to eat snow in order to regulate their body temperatures when they overheat, and the high end of temperatures that they can withstand is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius, a good 33% plus cooler than the temperatures that they'll be experiencing on Madagascar. Sorry, penguins, you can't MacGyver your way out of heat stroke. The tribe has spoken. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, I should probably subscribe to this channel, and you know what I'm thinking? Man, that is a really good idea. Help us get that much closer to 10 million subscribers on Film Theory, I would appreciate it. But after you've clicked the red button below this video as well as rung the bell, I'm sure your next thought is disappointment. You clicked on this video because you like the Madagascar movies, so you know, you've been having a grand old time listening to me list off the gruesome, horrific deaths awaiting these charming, innocent characters. And let me just say this, dear viewer, I have good news, and it comes in the form of Gloria the hippo. Unlike Alex, Gloria doesn't need to learn the finer points of hunting from other hippopotami since her food doesn't move. Hippos eat plants. The climate in Madagascar is fine for her, as many hippos are native to sub-Saharan African regions with similar, even a bit warmer climate. Hippos are susceptible to a few diseases, most notably anthrax, but no confirmed cases of anthrax have been found on Madagascar in recent history. Sadly, hippos are sometimes targets of poachers, usually for their teeth, but Gloria has a better shot against poachers than Marty for sure. For one, she has the option of escaping underwater if she needs to, and also, hippos routinely kill humans, so she's got herself better ability to defend herself than her zebra buddy. Now, maybe you think that I'm leading you astray to pull the rug out from under you, that I'm setting up all the pieces to show her survival only to cruelly rip her life away in the most brutal fashion in the final sentences of this video. But no, not this time actually. Gloria actually has a great shot of surviving. We have real-world evidence that a hippopotamus raised in captivity could in fact be released into an environment that it's not native to and not only survive, but thrive. And it comes from the world's most notorious drug dealer. No, not him. This guy, Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was a notorious Colombian drug lord, famous for a variety of things, perhaps the most wholesome of which was that he had himself a private zoo. When he was killed in 1993, his 4 pet hippos were released into the wilds of Colombia. And wouldn't you know it, there aren't 4 hippos there anymore. There are now as many as 100 in Colombia's Magdalena River. They adapted to the environment, the vegetation, the whole ecosystem of an entirely different continent than the one that they came from. So when Gloria finds herself on Madagascar, she, unlike her comrades, is well equipped to stay for the long haul. After a while, she might just take the crown away from King Julian. And if that means I don't have to see him dance anymore, I am all for it. See, I told you this episode would have a happy ending. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.